Good evening, friends. Secrets of the Sussexes is on the line. Tonight we're unpacking a story that grew memes in 48 hours, spawned retellings, and now wants its own movie scene. Supposedly a meltdown in Montecito, supposedly off-protocol meetings in Britain, and somewhere between the two shores an Waitress who appears out of nowhere to explain why Harry's face looks bright at home and clouded in London. A perfect lesson in how the rumor factory works when hard facts are scarce and demand for drama is huge. First, a ground rule. We do not confirm or allege anyone's private relationships without verifiable evidence. Not because we're afraid to spice it up, but because that's the lane of libel, not journalism. Our interest is different: the architecture of these plants. Who benefits from bolting a jealousy subplot onto the story right now, just as a cautious bridge between father and son is barely beginning to show? Why, at the exact moment the news cycle is built from boring but meaningful pieces, a short tea, polite phrasing, no transcripts, do we get loud but empty stage props? She's yelling by the pool, he's smiling in a pub, she posts hearts, he disappears for half an hour? Strip off the damp gold leaf of the headlines, and the picture is mundane. Harry flies to Britain and follows a familiar playbook: a charity agenda, a few cameras, 2 or 3 short quotes, a handful of with the public shots. It's the school he grew up in: image first, conclusions later. In that setting, any palace silence, any careful no comment acts like a magnet. Where there's no official voice, a hum of speculation appears. Then the conveyor belts spin, add a third party, glaze it with a freakout at the California mansion, sprinkle in phone arguments, and you've got a week's worth of storylines. Why now? That's the key. Even a faint public signal that small gestures between the king and his younger son are possible undermines the scandal industry's main currency: the certainty that these two never. The moment there's a chance of something else, out walks a stock character, the Waitress, just as earlier it was a family friend, a trainer, a neighbor, whoever. It's a dramaturgical device, not a fact. Its job is to shift the talk from careful steps to a chain of emotional reactions. She's jealous, he's retaliating, she's provoking. The duller the real chronology, the brighter they paint the plywood scenery. Another strand: the visual crumbs social media feeds us. A short video from a charity event, an adult man goofing with a child using an inflatable sword, turns overnight into either a tender moment or a pose for the camera, depending on the spin of the hour. The same clip feels warm and human to one audience, and fodder for sarcasm to another. Perfect raw material for endless remixing. To boost the effect, the backing vocals arrive from home stories, just the right pink filter and heart emojis at just the right moment. The signal is simple: look, we've got this under control. But for a mature audience, these gestures read differently. People over 50 can tell real from staged by the voice, by the pause, by how someone holds a pause rather than a pose. Geography matters, too. Montecito is a paradox: luxury setting, cult of normalcy. The unspoken rule is simple: you're famous? Great. Be a normal neighbor. When global names have lived here for 20 years, showing up quietly at library fundraisers and school fairs without barriers or flourishes, any perimeter, any deliberate separation, reads like a dare. On that background, the smallest crack in the image becomes prime whisper fuel. You know, they say, this isn't about truth. It's small-town psychology, legend outruns correction. And the Waitress herself? Exactly what every third party is in tabloid mythology: an empty prop used to explain a dynamic that is usually simpler: different life rhythms, different attitudes toward public roles, different definitions of home. Swapping an honest discussion of mismatched strategy for a someone, somewhere, sometime cutout saves producers time and costs viewers their self-respect. We're not picking up that baton. One more boundary. The moment a child enters a headline, even indirectly, our discussion ends. Children must never be used as leverage in the attention economy. Not as shields, not as bait. Projects, stories, rare glimpses from a set, the grown-up audience will judge all of it by a single metric: whom are you protecting, and what are you risking for one more bump in reach? The answer lives not in a press release, but in the track record of distances between people who should be close. Back to Britain. A quiet, almost content-free meeting, a few minutes of generalities at another engagement, and then a wave of analyses predicting every outcome. Remember, what matters most in stories like this happens off camera. If those two ever find a stable way to speak, it will be born not in backlit doorway shots or along a motorcade route, but between two people who remember each other from a different set altogether. The outside noise exists precisely to keep you from hearing that silence. A note on body language, which many treat like a codebook. Convenient, yes, slippery, too. The same gesture means one thing in a room of 100 and another in a private sitting room. Older viewers know this instinctively. That's why gotcha supercuts of 2-second looks or half smiles work only until a genuine conversation happens. Words not read off a card always defeat proof by freeze frame. So why are these plots so resilient? Because they create the illusion of intimacy. It feels like someone let us in on a secret, took us backstage and showed us the real. It flatters the instinct of a person who's lived a long life and rightly expects respect for their experience. Sadly, that's the instinct most often exploited, wrapping empty noise in the spice of famous names. What should a viewer do who doesn't want to be led by the nose? Keep one simple rule. Attention is your currency. Spend it on what will outlast the morning. Look at actions, not hints, at patterns, not props, at pauses, not emojis. And remember, a seasoned eye has a long memory. It won't confuse a disposable spark with a steady light. People often ask us, fine, you don't push gossip, so where's your edge? It's elsewhere. Not in repeating unverified bombshells, but in firm assessments of tactics. In calling a setup, marketing, and reality. In saying plainly, yes, we see where the image control is overdone. Yes, we understand why mature audiences bristle. No, we won't turn someone's private life into an amusement ride. Edge begins where there's a backbone, not just a tongue. And finally, you're an audience that has lived through more than one family storm and more than one thaw. You know the price of the words "let's start over." If we ever hear them from the people everyone is discussing today, that won't be a PR win. It'll be a rare moment when the public truly feels happy for people, not for a plot. Until then, we'll keep doing Why You Come Here, separating noise from meaning, holding silence when we should, and speaking plainly when we can. Tell us how you see this moment. Do characters from nowhere just pop up, or are they a deliberate tactic to pull focus from the real story? Cautious but genuine rapprochement? What damages an image more, over-controlling the brand, or answering silence with yet another story on social? Your comments aren't just feedback, they're the editorial plan for our next episode. Thanks for sticking with us. Secrets of the Sussexes will keep speaking sharply and stay responsible.